Hi, my name is Katie Meyers, and I am currently a student at Ball State University, getting my master's in special education and your colleague. Today, I'm going to share with you more information about family, economics, educators, and emotional disturbance disorder, and how they interplay with one another, and how we can help as educators. To begin with, let's learn exactly what is emotional disturbance disorder. According to the 2013 research by Wynn, Oshkatis, and Scatchwell, in 2004, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act defines emotional disturbance by both the presence of maladaptive behavior and negative educational impact as criteria. Descriptors of the disability include an inability to learn that cannot be explained by other factors, and an ability to build satisfactory relationships with peers and teachers, inappropriate behavior or feelings under normal circumstances, a general pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression, and the tendency to develop physical symptoms or fears associated with school or personal problems. Your students may have one or several of these descriptors of emotional disturbance. We also know in order for students to qualify for an individualized education plan or IEP under special education services, one or more of the indicators must be present, serious, and over an extended period of time while having a negative impact on the child's educational achievement. Also, according to the 2000 research by Wynn and colleagues, IDEA's definition of emotional disturbance does not include schizophrenia, but does not apply to children who are socially maladjusted unless it is determined that they have an emotional disturbance. In 2017, the Council of Exceptional Children, or CEC, stated emotional disturbance can affect an individual in areas beyond emotional. Depending on the specific mental disorder involved, a person's physical, social, or cognitive skills may also be affected. Emotional disturbance greatly affects a child's ability to function in the classroom setting. Children who have an emotional disturbance have several common behaviors that include hyperactivity, aggression or self-injurious behavior, withdrawal, immaturity, and learning difficulties. Hyperactivity is described as a short attention span and impulsiveness. Aggression or self-injurious behavior is described as acting out or fighting. Withdrawal is described as not interacting socially with others, excessive fear, or anxiety. Immaturity is described as inappropriate crying, temper tantrums, and poor coping skills. Learning difficulties is described as academically performing below grade level. The students in your classroom may exhibit some or all of these behaviors. There are many different types of disorders that can be classified under emotional disturbance. In the school setting, the most common emotional disturbance disorders seen are anxiety disorders, bipolar disorders, conduct disorder, eating disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, and psychotic disorders. Anxiety disorders are described as irrational fear. Some of the anxiety disorders commonly seen in children include generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, social anxiety disorder, or social phobia, and other specific phobias. Bipolar disorder is described as dramatic mood swings that result in overly high or irritable moods to sad and hopeless moods and back again. Conduct disorder is described as great difficulty following the rules and behaving in a socially acceptable way. Eating disorders are characterized by extremes in eating behaviors, too little or too much, or extreme distress about body weight or shape. Obsessive compulsive disorder is considered an anxiety disorder characterized by recurrent unwanted thoughts or repetitive behaviors. As educators, it is important to be cognitive of the common behaviors and types of emotional disturbance disorders that are prevalent in the schools so that we are better able to understand our students. Teachers will be able to create common classroom environments that are conducive to the students' social, emotional, and behavioral needs. To review exactly what is emotional disturbance, IDEA's law about emotional disturbance, and to get more information about educators and parents and a visual representation, we are going to turn to Catherine Tatum's video explanation.
Emotional behavioral disability. This disability is defined by IDEA under emotional disturbances. One or more of the following 5 characteristics must be present in order for the student to be diagnosed. An inability to learn which cannot be explained by intellectual, sensory, or health factors. An inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. Inappropriate behaviors or feelings under normal circumstances. A general mood of unhappiness or depression. And a tendency to develop physical symptoms or fears associated with personal or school problems. These characteristics must be present over a long period of time and to a degree that negatively affects the student's education performance. Students with emotional behavioral disability have IQ scores in the low average range. They also present moderate to severe academic difficulties in multiple areas and limited academic improvement over time. These students will oftentimes disrupt class and respond impulsively. They will lack knowledge or skills required to perform essential social behaviors or just not choose to perform the behaviors. Don't worry! Strategies have been developed to help teachers help their students with EBD. Expect and create. First, you must expect appropriate behavior. The students need guidance, model behavior, and feedback. Reinforcements and punishments should be used just as they would be with other students. There should be clear behavior expectations, and responses to rule violations should be consistent and sound. Second, teachers should be proactive in creating a community of people who will support the student. It can include parents, siblings, other teachers, extracurricular leaders, friends, and others. Communication and collaboration are vital among the members of this group. The needs of the child, behavior triggers, and expectations should all be well known. Students with EBD are absolutely capable of being included in a general education classroom. Teachers should recognize and respond to progress because it will encourage the students to continue their good behaviors and build self-esteem. The students should have an individualized behavior intervention plan. The BIP describes the problem behavior, the reasons the behavior occurs, and the intervention strategies that will address the behavior. Einstein said it best, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." All students have an opportunity to be successful. Believe in.
In order to truly get a better understanding of emotional disturbance disorder, we must understand how familial relationships and emotional disturbance disorder go hand in hand. In recent years, there has been an increase in the rate of diagnosed childhood anxiety. Vandergeesen and Bogle state in their 2017 research, accumulating evidence shows that environmental factors are more strongly related to children's anxiety than genetic factors. Knowing that environmental factors play a critical piece in the development of childhood anxiety, we must understand how familial relationships are involved. Children learn many important skills and lessons from their parents throughout their lifetime, including many social and emotional skills needed to be a functioning individual in society. Research has found that emotional expressivity is a critical skill learned in familial relationships. Vandergeesen and Bogle state in their 2017 research, Emotional expressivity of parent-child dyads is thought to be an important indicator of adaptive social emotional functioning. Emotionally expressive parent-child interactions, characterized by more positive affect and moderate levels of negative affect, might indicate that emotion expression is acceptable and valued in these dyads. In contrast, inexpressive or highly negative emotional interactions might reflect a discouraging emotional climate, potentially reflecting inadequate emotional functioning of dyads. Families with anxiety children are thought to have difficulties appropriately expressing positive and negative affect in emotionally evocative situations. Children who have an expressive parent-child interaction are better able to express their range of emotions in a positive manner. Without learning emotional expressivity, children have difficulty, especially expressing positive emotions. Another important emotional skill children learn is emotional flexibility. According to the 2017 research conducted by Vandergeesen and Bogels, emotional flexibility of parent-child dyads is considered to be the hallmark of healthy functioning. All emotions, including negative ones, are thought to be adaptive and important to express in appropriate contexts. The extent to which dyads together can control and adjust their emotions according to situational demands is important for emotional functioning. It also suggests that parent-child dyads that only express positive emotions and suppress negative emotions during conflict interactions seem unable to flexibility adapt their emotional responses according to the emotional demands of such contexts. As such, being stuck in either positive or negative emotions is what is thought to be problematic, even more so than the average amount of positive or negative emotions expressed during interactions. Children who are not taught emotional flexibility through their familial relationships are unable to adequately express or adapt their emotions in demanding situations like the school environment. When the children first attend elementary school, educators must be aware they may not have the emotional skills necessary to adapt or deal with the demanding environment of the classroom. It is critical that teachers model the skills of emotional expressivity and emotional flexibility with all of our students in the classroom. Teachers can do this through social emotional activities that model coping skills that allow students to express their emotions in different situations. A resource teachers and parents can use to help their students learn emotional flexibility and expressivity is the Zones of Regulation. The Zones of Regulation curriculum was designed by Leah Kreppers and is a cognitive behavioral approach to teach self-regulation and emotional control. Here's a video to help us understand exactly what are the zones of regulation and how to help students through those zones.
The zones of regulation. There are 4 zones of regulation: blue, green, yellow, and red. In the blue zone, I feel sad, tired, bored, sick, or depressed. In the green zone, I feel happy, calm, content, or good to go. In the yellow zone, I feel silly, nervous, excited, jealous, scared, or surprised. In the red zone, I feel extremely upset, sad, angry, or frightened. There are times when it's okay to be in the red, green, yellow, or blue zones, where our emotions change throughout the day, and that's okay.
Your job is to keep this place quiet, because I hate noise. Can't stand noise. I'm going to bed now, and it better be plenty quiet around here. What I want is peace.
Hello. You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure.
But we must be careful. So they left, but without the brake pad.
She's mad. But a fairy must be very careful with magic. Once I accidentally turned my white dress into a red one. That made the...
Now, let's take a look to see how poverty and emotional disturbance disorder go hand in hand. Ashkwana, Aber, and Berdelis state in their 2012 research, in the United States, over 20% of children under the age of 18 are officially poor. This means they live in households with incomes below the federal poverty line. Another 20% of children are near poor, living in households with incomes between 100% and 200% of the federal poverty line. Poverty is a critical risk factor for many of the mental, emotional, and behavioral, or MEB, disorders of children and youth. This means that many of the students we service may be experiencing the effects of poverty. Yashwina, Aber, and Bertalis found in their 2000 research the effects of poverty are cumulative. Consequences at one stage in a child's development can hinder development at a later stage. For example, work by Gilman, Kawachi, Fitzmaris, and Burka using prospective longitudinal national data indicated that subjects from lower socioeconomic status, SES, families had increased lifetime rates of depression, and that together, low parental SES, family disruption, residential instability were related to depression onset by age 14. To give a specific example, onset of depression was higher among individuals in the sample from lower SES backgrounds. Students who are experiencing homelessness and poverty are more susceptible to experiencing delayed development and depression, which can lead to some emotional disturbance disorders. Poverty also plays a critical role in a child's psychological functioning. Yushaka, Aber, and Bertalis stated in their 2012 research, children's own awareness of hardship, a psychological mechanism, can also affect their well-being. Dan Schiff and colleagues found that the effects of poverty on youth quality of life, socially adjustment, and suicide risk occurred through youth perceptions of family economic difficulties. Another research conducted by Duncan, Magnuson, Kelly, and Zoligas in 2012 found psychologists and sociologists point to the quality of family relationships to explain poverty's detrimental effects on children. These theoretical models point out that higher incomes may improve parents' psychological well-being and family processes, in particular the quality of parents' interactions with their children. A long line of research has found that low-income parents, as compared with middle-class parents, are more likely to use an authoritative and punitive parenting style and less likely to provide their children with stimulating learning experiences in the home. and economic insecurity take a toll on a parent's mental health, which may be an important cause of low-income parents' non-supportive parenting. Poverty hinders a child's ability to socially adjust, which can greatly inhibit their ability to function in a school environment. Educators need to provide social learning opportunities in addition to academic learning. This will allow students whose social and emotional skills inhibited by poverty an opportunity to learn critical life skills. Another tool educators and parents can use is the social thinking curriculum. Social thinking was created by Michelle Garcia Winner and uses peer-reviewed research and client-family values to create products that aid in the development of social self-awareness and other social emotional skills. In this video, we will learn more about what exactly social thinking is and why it is important for students to learn.
The social mind is an incredible interpreter. We're born to a social mind that allows us to start understanding people's motives and intentions, predicting what's happening next, how someone is feeling. We even try to figure out what they're telling us, even when they're not telling us in words exactly what they're saying. We interpret people as we converse with them. We interpret people that we're watching. Has anyone ever gone and just done people watching for fun? We also interpret things in the media. We watch news forecasts, but we have to know what channel we're on to understand the bias that they're giving us in the news. We enjoy Downton Abbey, or perhaps you enjoy a basketball game where people are trying to fake each other out and make you think they're going in one direction when they're actually moving in another. Teachers do not teach us to think like this. The brain is supposed to naturally become available to learning in synergistically all these different little steps from the time that we're born, and the social brain keeps learning all the way across our life how to interpret more and more abstract information. When working with folks whose brains don't make the social learning process easy for them, that typically also means people have difficulties with their social skills. They're clearly interrelated. That what people think and how they're thinking about somebody else or how they're thinking about themselves is portrayed in our social skills. So rather than just teach someone to identify a social behavior and memorize that social skill and reproduce it in other environments, social thinking calls on us to engage in social problem solving. We consider our own and others' thinking, and then we realize how our social behaviors are being interpreted by others. And so we work on social skills as part of a social problem solving process. Then we ask, why bother? As some of my high school kids have said, is it just too much work thinking about my thinking about other people, thinking about what they're thinking about me, trying to figure out what we're feeling, how we read the situation. And so then we looked into that and we're like, well, why do we do all this stuff? And what we discovered was that everything we do in the presence of another person is interpreted, and what is remembered is how we make people feel. And so at the end of the day, all the social thinking and related social skills, when the point of it is for social interaction face to face, comes back to an emotional response. You can say the same is true on the web when we're doing FaceTime with another person, or even when we're messaging. We have to be aware of the messages we're sending and how they're being interpreted. The last part of social thinking, but it's actually kind of the first part as well, is this great interpreter that we're born to is the same mind we're using in reading comprehension, written expression, narrative language, and especially its reading comprehension of literature when we're having to get inside of the mind of others. So social thinking goes right into the Common Core standards and teaching how do we develop this group think or thinking about others that allows us to do so many things, whether we're in a meeting, playing on the playground, or trying to do well in our academics. I'm Michelle Garcia Winner. I'm the founder of Social Thinking, and you can learn more about us at socialthinking.com.
Now we will talk about how educators can help service students with emotional disturbance disorders. Teachers can help students with behavior disturbance disorders by creating classroom environments and individualized behavior plans that are conducive to their individual physical, social, and emotional needs. In the 2008 research, Trussell, Lewis, and Stitcher found consistent classroom supports can provide students with predictable means to getting their needs met, similar to individually designed behavior interventions, and that both addresses that function of the problem behavior and both alter the environment to make problem behavior less effective than targeted replacement behavior. Educators need to provide students with clear expectations and predictable behavior management plans so students are better able to cope with the demands of the school environment. When creating behavior plans, teachers must first identify the function of the behavior in order to correctly provide an acceptable replacement behavior and environment to meet the student's physical, social, or emotional needs. Both students and teacher will have more success with behavior plans when they are correctly created through function-based measures. Increasing student participation throughout the classroom can also have a great impact on creating a classroom environment that is conducive for students with behavior disturbance disorder. In 2011, Duchesne, Jolivet, and Frederick found instructional strategies to encourage participation of students with disabilities are essential to engage students in the learning process. In addition, disruptive behavior due to academic and/or social deficits may be reduced with basic classroom management strategies incorporated into teaching. Teachers can increase student participation by involving the students in the lesson, using their interest and knowledge, and through consistent praise. Strong classroom management systems will also create environments that provide students with the structure and security that make them feel safe and encouraged to participate. According to the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, in 2018, parent-reported information from the 2011-2012 National Survey of Children's Health showed that 1 out of 7 U.S. children aged 2 to 8 years had a diagnosed mental, behavioral, or developmental disorder, or MBDD. With the increase of diagnosed mental, behavioral, or developmental disorders, there is also an increase in undiagnosed mental, behavioral, or developmental disorders. This can be detrimental to students' overall wellness and inhibit their performance in school. It is crucial that we as educators and parents work together in order to better understand behavioral and developmental disorders. This will allow students to receive the assistance they need to develop their social and emotional skills and understanding. Social and emotional skills should not be overlooked. They are necessary for a child's academic achievement, but most importantly, for a child's overall wellness and happiness. Thank you for attending my presentation, and if you have any questions or comments, please seek me out through our staff email or in the hall. Thank you.